1941 Harley-Davidson FL Knucklehead. $60,000. Hill City, South Dakota. This 1941 Harley-Davidson FL Knucklehead is an exceptional example of pre-war American motorcycling, representing one of the most celebrated and desirable eras in Harley-Davidson history. Built over the course of 3 meticulous years at Hill City Cycles, this motorcycle was constructed from the frame up with the intention of creating a world-class machine that blends show-quality presentation with real-world rideability. The result is a multiple award-winning knucklehead that commands attention wherever it appears, whether on the show floor, at a vintage gathering, or simply rolling down the road. Although often referred to by the seller as an EL knucklehead, this bike falls squarely into the iconic knucklehead lineage that defined Harley-Davidson's dominance in the late 1930s and early 1940s. The knucklehead engine itself is legendary, marking Harley-Davidson's first overhead valve V-twin and setting the foundation for every big twin engine that followed. The unmistakable rocker box design, mechanical presence, and deep historical significance make knuckleheads among the most sought-after motorcycles in the world. This particular motorcycle has virtually 0 riding miles since completion. The odometer shows approximately 300 miles, but those miles are attributed solely to rolling the bike in and out of venues for shows and events rather than actual road use. As such, the engine has been fully rebuilt yet remains essentially unused, offering the next owner the rare opportunity to enjoy a freshly built knucklehead without the uncertainty that often comes with older, high-mileage examples. Despite its pristine condition, the seller emphasizes that this is a very nice rider and not merely a static display piece. It is important to note that this motorcycle is not presented as a factory-correct, numbers-matching original knucklehead. Instead, it is a carefully crafted, high-quality build that prioritizes visual impact, mechanical integrity, and rideability. The presence of tasteful chrome components adds to its show appeal while setting it apart from strictly original restorations. A correctly rebuilt speedometer has been installed, maintaining period-correct aesthetics, and the transmission has been properly rebuilt and paired with a South Dakota title, simplifying ownership and registration for the next caretaker. Finished in a striking blue, the bike's appearance reflects both elegance and authority. The paintwork complements the classic lines of the frame and engine, highlighting the timeless proportions that made early Harley-Davidsons so iconic. Every detail reflects the level of craftsmanship invested during its 3-year build process, from the stance of the bike to the overall fit and finish. It is clear this motorcycle was assembled by experienced hands with a deep respect for vintage Harley-Davidson heritage. From a collector's perspective, this knucklehead occupies a desirable position in the market. Fully original, museum-correct knuckleheads often command significantly higher prices and are frequently too valuable to ride with confidence. On the other end of the spectrum, rough or incomplete projects can require years of work and substantial additional investment. This 1941 Harley-Davidson sits comfortably in between, offering award-winning quality, fresh mechanicals, and the freedom to ride and enjoy the bike without the anxiety associated with ultra-rare, untouched originals. The seller has stated that a running video will be posted, further reinforcing confidence in the motorcycle's condition and mechanical readiness. The bike has been described as gorgeous, and given its award-winning status, that description appears well justified. Inquiries are being screened on behalf of the owner, indicating that this sale is targeted towards serious buyers who understand the value and significance of what is being offered. Reasonable offers are welcome, while scams and unrealistic proposals will be ignored. At an asking price of $60,000 or best offer, this knucklehead represents a strong value within today's vintage Harley-Davidson market. Pre-war Harley-Davidsons continue to appreciate, especially examples that combine visual excellence with documented professional builds. This motorcycle offers not just ownership of a machine, but stewardship of a significant piece of American motorcycling history. For the right buyer, this 1941 Harley-Davidson knucklehead is more than an investment or a showpiece. It is a living artifact from a pivotal moment in Harley-Davidson's evolution, built to a standard that allows it to be admired, ridden, and enjoyed. Whether added to a serious collection, displayed at premier events, or taken out for special rides, This knucklehead stands as a powerful symbol of craftsmanship, heritage, and timeless American engineering. Triumph 5T Speed Twin. $12,500. Port Townsend, Washington. This 1948 Triumph 5T Speed Twin represents one of the most important motorcycles in British motorcycling history, offered here as a fully restored example that is described as starting easily and being ready to ride or show. The Triumph Speed Twin is widely regarded as the motorcycle that changed the industry, introducing Edward Turner's revolutionary parallel twin engine design that became the blueprint for British motorcycles for decades. Owning a 1948 model places you at the very beginning of that legacy, just after World War II, when Triumph was helping to redefine performance, reliability, and style for a new generation of riders. Finished in classic red, this Speed Twin presents itself as a proper post-war British motorcycle, with timeless proportions and an unmistakable silhouette. The clean restoration suggests careful attention to detail, and the seller's statement that it starts easily is particularly reassuring for a machine of this age. Many motorcycles from the late 1940s can be temperamental, but an easy starting example points to a well-sorted engine, proper ignition setup, and thoughtful mechanical work throughout the restoration process. With only 300 miles shown since restoration, this bike appears to have been gently run in and maintained rather than neglected or left sitting unused. The Triumph 5T was powered by a 498 cubic centimeters parallel twin engine that delivered smooth, usable power and excellent balance compared to the single-cylinder motorcycles that dominated earlier eras. In 1948, this design was still considered advanced, offering improved performance and reduced vibration, making it suitable for both everyday riding and longer-distance touring. Paired with a manual transmission, the riding experience remains engaging and mechanical in the best possible way, giving the rider a true connection to the machine and the road. This particular example is described as ready to ride or show, which makes it appealing to two types of buyers. For collectors, it has the visual presence and historical importance to be displayed at vintage motorcycle shows, classic British bike gatherings, or private collections. For riders, it offers the opportunity to experience a genuine late 1940s Triumph on the road without immediately needing further restoration or recommissioning work. That balance between usability and presentation is often difficult to achieve with motorcycles of this era, making this Speed Twin especially attractive. The restoration aspect is a key part of this motorcycle's value. A proper restoration of a 1948 Triumph requires significant time, specialized knowledge, and access to correct or high-quality reproduction parts. From engine internals to electrics, carburation, paint, and fasteners, every detail matters. The fact that this bike is presented as complete, running, and dialed in suggests that those challenges have already been addressed. For many buyers, this represents a considerable savings compared to purchasing a project bike and undertaking a multi-year restoration. Historically, the 5T Speed Twin occupies a special place not only within Triumph's lineup but also within motorcycling as a whole. Its engine layout influenced countless later models from Triumph, BSA, Norton, and other manufacturers. Riding or owning one is not just about transportation or aesthetics, but about preserving and participating in that history. The post-war era was a defining moment for the motorcycle industry, and this bike is a direct product of that time. Located in Port Townsend, Washington, this motorcycle benefits from being in a region known for its appreciation of classic vehicles and craftsmanship. The asking price of $12,500 reflects the bike's condition, restoration status, historical importance, and readiness for immediate enjoyment. While this is not an entry-level vintage motorcycle, it is a fair valuation for a properly restored, early speed twin that does not require additional major work. Overall, this 1948 Triumph 5T Speed Twin is ideal for a serious vintage motorcycle enthusiast who values originality, mechanical integrity, and historical significance. Whether it is added to a collection, shown at events, or enjoyed on quiet weekend rides, it offers a rare chance to own and experience one of the most influential motorcycles ever built. Few machines combine such elegant simplicity, engineering importance, and timeless appeal in one package, making this Speed Twin a standout offering for the right buyer. and 1952 Simplex Servicycle, 2 bikes. $6,200 each. Elk Grove, California. Offered here is a rare opportunity to acquire not one, but 2 beautifully restored Simplex Servicycles, representing the 1949 and 1952 model years. Finished respectively in green and tan, these machines have been restored to true show-quality condition with an exceptional level of care and attention to detail. Finding a single restored Servicycle in this condition is uncommon. Finding a matched pair from the Klasik post-war era makes this offering especially appealing to collectors, museums, and enthusiasts of early American lightweight motorcycles. The Simplex Servicycle occupies a unique and important place in American motorcycling history. Designed as a lightweight, economical, and easy-to-maintain machine, it was originally marketed to servicemen, commuters, and industrial users who needed reliable transportation at low cost. With its compact size, minimalist engineering, and utilitarian charm, the Servicycle bridged the gap between motorized bicycles and full-size motorcycles. Today, these bikes are celebrated not just for their rarity, but for the story they tell about post-war American ingenuity and everyday mobility. Both the 1949 and 1952 examples in this offering have been restored to a standard that goes well beyond a casual refurbishment. According to the seller, the restoration quality is show-level, and that claim is supported by the finishes and overall presentation. The fuel tanks and fenders have been properly prepared and finished with base coat and clear coat paint, resulting in a deep, even shine that highlights the simple but elegant lines of these machines. The paintwork is clean and consistent, suitable for display while still being durable enough for riding and regular enjoyment. Other components throughout both motorcycles have been powder-coated, providing a finish that is both visually crisp and highly resistant to wear. This choice reflects a thoughtful balance between maintaining a period-correct appearance and ensuring long-term durability. The result is a pair of motorcycles that look exceptional up close, with uniform finishes and careful detailing that reward inspection from every angle. The level of consistency between the 2 bikes also makes them ideal as a matched display set. Mechanically, both Servicycles are reported to run and drive beautifully, which is an important distinction in a market where many restored vintage machines are limited to static display. Video documentation is available, offering reassurance that these bikes are not only attractive but fully functional. A riding Servicycle delivers a very different ownership experience compared to a non-operational example, allowing the owner to enjoy the machines as they were originally intended rather than as purely visual artifacts. The 1949 model, finished in green, reflects the immediate post-war styling and character of early Simplex production. The 1952 model, finished in tan, represents a slightly later evolution, giving the buyer a chance to own and compare 2 closely related but distinct examples. Together, they illustrate the subtle development of the Servicycle over time, making this pair particularly interesting from a historical and educational perspective. From a collecting standpoint, these motorcycles appeal to several different audiences. For a dedicated Simplex collector, acquiring 2 restored examples in complementary colors is an obvious draw. For a broader vintage motorcycle collector, Servicycles add diversity to a collection dominated by larger machines, offering a glimpse into a different segment of motorcycling history. They are also well suited to museum or showroom display, where their compact size and visual charm attract attention and invite conversation. The asking price is $6,200 each, which reflects the quality of the restorations, the fact that both bikes are fully operational, and the increasing scarcity of well-finished Servicycles. In the current vintage market, restoration costs alone can easily approach or exceed this figure, making these examples particularly compelling for buyers who want immediate enjoyment without the time, expense, and uncertainty of a full restoration project. Located in Elk Grove, California, these Simplex Servicycles are offered by a seller who welcomes serious inquiries and can provide additional photos or video upon request. If the listing is active, the bikes are still available, eliminating unnecessary back and forth. Whether purchased individually or as a pair, These 1949 and 1952 Simplex servicycles represent a rare chance to own beautifully restored examples of an iconic and often overlooked chapter in American motorcycling history. 1959 Harley-Davidson Sportster XLCH. $3,500. San Francisco, California. This 1959 Harley-Davidson Sportster XLCH is offered as a fairly complete vintage project with serious potential for the right builder who appreciates early ironhead history and hands-on restoration. The 1959 model year sits squarely in the golden era of the Sportster, when Harley-Davidson was defining its high-performance image with lighter, faster machines aimed at riders who wanted more than just cruising. This example is not a finished motorcycle, but rather a foundation for someone who wants to build a truly personal and historically interesting XLCH using a mix of early and later performance components. At the heart of this project is a 1959 XLCH bottom end that has been properly machined to accept a 1,000 cubic centimeters top end, paired with early rocker boxes. This combination offers the visual character of an early Sportster with the added displacement and performance potential of the larger top end. The engine reportedly shifts well, which is an encouraging sign for a project of this age, and the presence of a magneto with a hot spark suggests that the ignition system is already sorted in a way that many traditional builders prefer. Magneto ignition is period-correct, simple, and reliable when set up properly, and it fits perfectly with the stripped, performance-focused spirit of an XLCH. The motorcycle is loosely assembled as described, and will require final fitting, hardware, and mechanical attention to bring it together properly. The clutch still needs to be assembled, and it will require pushrods, oil lines, and top-end gaskets before it can be run. For an experienced builder, these are expected steps rather than deal-breakers, and they provide an opportunity to inspect, measure, and assemble the engine exactly to one's own standards. This is the kind of project that rewards careful work and mechanical knowledge rather than quick shortcuts. Visually, the bike includes several highly desirable and increasingly hard-to-find parts. The front end is a 33.4 setup with a Klasik hamburger drum brake, fitted with a 19-inch wheel that will need attention but adds tremendous period authenticity. The rear features a high-shoulder 18-inch wheel, reinforcing the correct late 1950s stance. Original internal throttle handlebars are present, a detail that collectors and purists value for both appearance and originality. The bike also comes with a KR-style exhaust, which not only looks right but also reflects Harley-Davidson's racing influence during that era. One of the highlights of this project is the collection of new old stock components included with the sale. The NOS Sportster peanut tank, NOS rear fender, and NOS horseshoe oil tank are significant assets, as these parts are increasingly difficult to source in genuine condition. Having these components already in hand can save thousands of dollars and countless hours of searching, while also ensuring that the finished motorcycle retains the correct look and proportions. The inclusion of a guide taillight further supports a period-correct build that pays respect to Harley-Davidson's original design language. The seat included is a Harley Sprint seat, which will need new mounting tabs welded to fit the XLCH frame properly. This again reflects the project nature of the bike and gives the builder flexibility to refine seating position and ergonomics during final assembly. The overall package is described as fairly complete, though it is missing bolts and small hardware in places, which is typical for a bike at this stage of assembly. Careful inventory and test fitting will be part of the process, making this an ideal winter build for someone who enjoys methodical progress in the garage. Paperwork is limited to a bill of sale only, with no title. This is an important consideration for any buyer, especially depending on local registration requirements. In some regions, older motorcycles can be titled with a bill of sale and inspection, while in others this may require additional steps or be intended for off-road, show, or collection use. Buyers should be comfortable navigating that process before committing. Located in San Francisco, California, this 1959 Harley-Davidson Sportster XLCH project is offered at $3,500, a price that reflects both its unfinished state and the value of the parts included. For a builder or collector who understands early Sportsters and wants to create a distinctive, period-inspired machine, this project represents a strong starting point. With the right vision and effort, It could become a standout example of a classic ironhead built to be ridden, shown, and appreciated for years to come.
Harley-Davidson EL Knucklehead, listed for $125,000 in San Diego, California, is a museum-grade early knucklehead with matching numbers, a clear title, a period-correct build, and only 1,000 miles on its most recent rebuild. As one of the earliest years of Harley's iconic overhead valve Big Twin, this 1937 EL is not just a motorcycle. It is a historically significant artifact that represents the beginning of Harley-Davidson's modern engineering era. For collectors, very few machines carry the prestige of a pre-war knucklehead. The EL was introduced in 1936, immediately redefining American motorcycling with its advanced OHV design, improved lubrication, stronger power output, and distinctive rocker box shape that gave rise to the name Knucklehead. Early production knuckleheads, especially 1936 to 1939 examples, are some of the most sought-after antique Harley-Davidsons in existence. They rarely appear for sale, and when they do, they command premium values because of their rarity, engineering importance, and extremely low surviving numbers. This particular example stands out immediately for being a matching numbers motorcycle, meaning the frame and engine retain their original identity. On knuckleheads, especially pre-war examples, matching numbers are exceptionally rare and heavily influence pricing. Many early Harleys were separated from their original cases or frames through decades of use, military surplus redistribution, and post-war rebuilding practices. Having correct, original number cases elevates this bike into the upper tier of collector-grade machines. Equally important is the clear, proper title, confirming legal provenance, and simplifying ownership transfer, a critical factor with motorcycles of this age and value. Documentation is everything in the world of antique Harley-Davidsons, and this one passes that test. The engine was rebuilt around 2010 and has since accumulated only 1,000 miles. That means the mechanical components have been refreshed, tolerances reset, and the power plant prepared for another lifetime of reliable operation. However, the bike then sat for 13 years, a detail that adds authenticity. It suggests long-term preservation rather than constant modification. For many antique collectors, a rebuild followed by careful storage is far more desirable than a machine that has been continuously altered or ridden into wear. The seller notes that the bike retains all proper parts and pieces, with 85% real sheet metal. This is extremely rare. Much of the surviving knucklehead population features replacement aftermarket tanks, fenders, and trim due to wartime metal shortages, racing use, and decades of rebuilds. Having 85% original sheet metal means the motorcycle carries authentic components from the 1930s, the kind of detail that significantly increases historical and market value. One unique detail is the inclusion of 1938-style handlebars, a correct and desirable visual upgrade consistent with period-correct aesthetics. Many early knucklehead owners during the late 1930s updated their handlebars as Harley refined ergonomics and styling. This small but important detail aligns with typical modifications made during that era, adding to the bike's organic authenticity rather than detracting from originality. With its pre-war chassis, early EL engine architecture, and correct sheet metal proportions, this motorcycle embodies the unmistakable silhouette that collectors worldwide recognize instantly. The long, flowing fenders, split fuel tanks, rigid rear frame, and graceful Springer front end reflect the design language that made Harley-Davidson a dominant name in American motorcycling culture. The condition is listed as used good, which for a machine of this age and historical significance typically indicates a well-preserved example that retains authentic character without excessive over-restoration. Many high-value knuckleheads suffer from over-polish syndrome. Too shiny, too modernized, too perfect. This example, by contrast, appears to maintain the right balance. Restored where necessary, preserved where appropriate, and equipped with correct era hardware. At $125,000, the price reflects the motorcycle's notability. Matching numbers, correct title, Original sheet metal, low miles on the rebuild, and pre-war provenance. Early knuckleheads routinely sell in the six-figure range, and restored, matching number 1937 ELs have become increasingly difficult to find as collectors lock them into private collections. Located in San Diego, California, the motorcycle is being offered with local pickup, appropriate for a machine of this caliber. Many collectors prefer in-person inspection and hand delivery for high-value antiques, further underscoring the prestige and authenticity of the offering. For serious Harley historians, pre-war collectors, or investors seeking a blue-chip vintage motorcycle with long-term appreciation potential, this EL represents the kind of opportunity that surfaces only a handful of times each decade. The 1937 Harley-Davidson EL Knucklehead, $125,000, San Diego, California. Matching numbers. Clear title. 85% original sheet metal. A pre-war masterpiece and one of the rarest American motorcycles ever built.